Those are all opportunities to fellowship with each other. But also in small gatherings as well. It's extremely important to build relationships in life groups or in small Bible study groups. Or, I think about the quilting group, get together and they have an opportunity to fellowship while they're serving. And so there's just lots of opportunities for fellowship. And one of the things we talked about was how can we continue to grow those? And so, and you have this list on your table somewhere of the proposed activities for the entire year. But we've underlined a couple of things that we said, well, let's try a couple of new events and grow our opportunities to gather together. So even as early as January, during the cold of January, you can come out. We'll have a soup fellowship. I promise it won't be these same, it'll be fresh soup, but even though there's plenty left now. But, and we talked about the idea of doing some kind of escape room activity during that fellowship. So you'll want to come out for that. You may not leave from that, but you'll want to come out for that. Some other things we've done in the past, like the wild game dinner, but we're going to add a sandwich fellowship and a game night in March. We are going to try to do again the mystery dinner, and Ryan's not here, and I said, let's do April 15th, and we'll have a tax theme or something on our mystery dinner. So more to come on that. And then as you look through the year, we're talking about a cornhole event with a cookout in September. And these are some key ministries that lots of folks take time to be involved with. I'm going to step over here and just kind of be helpful if you need help advancing. Keith, so.
All right. Once again, we'd like to thank everybody that's here this evening. And one of the ways that other people in this community can see Christ living in us is our benevolence programs. All the different ways that we reach out to this community is a way that we can show the love of Christ to this community, to our congregation, and the public in general, for anybody that shows up for our clothing giveaway and our food giveaway and all that. There's so many different activities that we do here. We have a list up there of the different benevolence ministries that we have: our food giveaway, our food pantry, our school supplies giveaway, our bicycle ministry, and our personal aid to members. We'll go into a little bit more detail on some of them. First one we're going to talk about is our food giveaway ministry. It grew from serving 150 families in January to over 400 last month. And you take a look at that, it's such a remarkable change over the years, how much we've grown and how much we've been able to reach out to this community to provide food. Josh Ball and his entire family are always behind the scenes that put in an enormous amount of work, not only just planning and being here, but also being on the ball and being able to order this stuff when it's available. I mean, it's not automatically available any available day. I mean, basically, they get a notice when something's available, a good deal on something, and they hop on it. So they have to be very attentive to the articles on the computer and stuff like that. So it's not by chance that the opportunities for the good food ministry that we have is successful. We average over 70 volunteers per month. Once again, it's so many people behind the scenes, and this number of volunteers has grown over the years. So there's not only the regular people that show up, there's other people that find out that this is an exciting thing to be part of, to be involved in. So 70 volunteers is definitely one of the reasons that our food ministry is so successful, whether it's just unloading the trucks or even those that pick up the food. Chris Cottrell goes down and helps pick up the food. Josh goes down, and they pick up that stuff to bring it back. So that's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes before we even make it successful here. It's supported by $500 a month from our budget here at Richland Road Church of Christ. And then we also receive a grant from a local charitable trust. Without them, we couldn't be as successful, be able to reach out to this community as well as what we do. Here you see a graph here, and it talks about families and what our numbers were over the year. And you can see in January, our families that we reached out to was 125. And then over the years, continued to progress, and it fluctuated a little bit. We had some up months in May, and then it started to go back down in August again. But then you see it had that steady climb back up there at the end. And it's clear up around that 400 families that we've been able to reach out and touch. And it's such a valuable asset for this community, and we're being known in this community now, this church is, because of what we do to help those that are in need.
Keith, if I could mention, I think that's probably going to stay among the high numbers for a while. Partially, I think it's an economic thing, that there's a lot more families kind of struggling now because of the way the economy's gone. I think also there have been some other pantries around the area that have stopped operating. And so some of the folks are now coming here for that reason.
And for those of you that notice that there's different colors there, the blue is the previous families, people that have been here before that continue to return. And then that red part of the graph is new families. So that lets you know that there are more people here about the good news that we're doing here and this opportunity that we do to provide food for this community. And some more people continue to come and be first. So it's good that they're able to come out and do that. Here we're showing the total weight of the food that's distributed here. Notice at the very beginning, back in January, the amount of tonnage that we were able to provide, and it was just a little bit under 20 tons of food. And that 20 tons, that sounds like an enormous number, but notice how much it has grown to right now that it's over almost 40,000, 42,500 in November, how much it's came up to. So that's an enormous growth of the amount of food that we are able to provide. And that's not only produce, but it's also our canned foods and all the other things that we provide. Our food pantry that was supported by our donations from you, when we have a Bring a Sack Sunday. And that's truly an important role that everybody in the congregation has an opportunity that we can give toward that. That's the food that's provided over in the church office area. It provides food to people from the community who call in looking for help. It's also available for members of our church. And that currently our food pantry is serving 8 to 10 families per week. People that just call or they come into the church office looking for food. Our school supply giveaway is an annual event that we started a few years ago. It's in August. We served 222 students this past year. Our budget is around $4,000, which we get $2,000 provided from our own church budget, and then we also have a $2,000 grant from a local charitable trust. Things like that the community knows that we are doing good. It's wonderful that we have a charitable trust that's willing to say, hey, we can help. We can help. And it's definitely a wonderful blessing to our congregation that we're able to give more than what we're able to by ourselves. Our bicycle giveaway ministry. They have 15 bicycles refurbished to give away this weekend, and along with the food giveaway. Clyde Ball is somebody that has taken on that ministry. Over the years, we've had some different people that have volunteered to work on used bicycles and bring them up to par that we're able to give them away. But Clyde has stepped up, and he's willing to do that, and he's provided a good work and service, and it's a wonderful thing that he's able to do. We also have a personal benevolence that we do, a ministry directed by the elders to help church members. It's designed to help when financial circumstances change suddenly due to job loss, illness, or death in the family. We also provide temporary aid for people to get over a difficult period of time in their life. There was not a needy person among them, for as many as were owners of lands or houses sold them and brought in the proceeds of what was sold and laid it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to each of any who had need. That's out of the book of Acts, chapter 4, verses 34 and 35.
Okay, Keith, thank you. All right, I'm going to ask Bill to come on up and talk about projects. You know, that thing about the benevolence thing, I always think about how the early church took care of everybody that was in need. And we try to take that same approach. If someone comes to us with a need, especially a member, we strive to really make sure that we are helping them. It is meant to be a temporary help, and of course we're limited in what we can do, but over the years we've been able to bless many people with that. Bill?
Okay. I want to talk about projects that we've completed this year, and also I'll talk about some that we got planned for next year. I know everybody in their own home, there's always repairs to be made. There's something that needs to be fixed, and it's the same here, probably a bigger scale. So we've got a lot of things. I want to thank Todd Buckland most of all. He's helped us organize a lot of these things. He's done a lot of these things, but with the help of more people, we get more done. As you can see up there, we've got we redid the small playground out back here this year with pea gravel. It was kind of overgrown, and there were weeds and grass and a lot of things that needed repaired, and that was one that the gravel came and was donated and put in place for us. There were several people that finished that, but we were always thankful for that. And probably you've noticed in the south parking lot that this summer it's been deteriorating for a while. It was time to get fixed. So we had, we hired that done. They ground out the old blacktop. There used to be a tree out there, and it just, it was showing. It was wore through and settled. So they ground that out, put new blacktop in, so it looks a lot better. It was just kept getting worse and worse, so it was time. The new flooring in the two main bathrooms, you've probably noticed that. I know the men's bathroom needed it real bad. I can't speak for the ladies, but the men's bathroom definitely needed it, and it a really nice improvement there. You've probably noticed too the clothing house. It looks, especially from a distance, it really looks good. It got painted, and looks really good. Again, one of our members donated that to the church, so we are thankful for that. It just makes everything look a lot better. We did have to put an electrical sub-panel in the main auditorium to the back. Something we don't see very often is the electrical part, but there was definitely a need. It had to be upgraded. It seems like our homes are a little bit that way too. We keep adding electrical things, and pretty soon we don't have enough outlets. So there was things done in the past that just needed to be fixed, and so that ended up being a little bigger than just the simple thing we started with, but it's in good shape and should be good for many years yet. You've noticed probably too out here out front there were that had to be done. If it's just things like carpet cleaning, we get done several times a year. It just, things have to be done. So that's most of what we did this year. And for next year's project, we have several things. One is if you've walked to the outreach from the parking lot, you probably noticed the sidewalk is getting it's coming apart. And it's just time for the main entrance to our offices and our outreach to be fixed. So that's, we're hoping to get that done this year. For many years, we've had the pillars out front have been on our minds. It's a little bit difficult to repair them. It's not something that you can just buy a new piece and put in there. So we're working on that. We're hoping to get that done this year. There's also, if you looked outside, you would think there needs to be some painting done on the soffits. That's planned for this year. Also, washer and dryer. Thanks to Ron to get us that washer and dryer a while ago. We've got that project started in the outreach. There's going to be a washer and dryer, so when we have the towels, wash things, all that will be here. We won't have to take it home and bring it back. It'll always be nearby, and it's started but not finished yet. So it will get finished, I hope, soon. The other thing is sealing our parking lot, which we have a parking lot behind the outreach that has never been sealed. It was just put in a year plus ago. Also, the others has been 3 years since it's been done. So it's time to get it sealed so it doesn't deteriorate, and we want to do that. We don't know at this point how much we'll get done. It kind of depends on our budget and what the cost for doing part of it versus all of it. If it's good to get it all done, we'll try to do that. But we might split that by year to spread our cost. There's always landscaping to do. We're going to continue that in this year. One other project that we've talked about is this room right here, the lights. There are 120 light bulbs in this room, and this room probably 128 to be exact, but there's probably, this room uses more lights than any room that we have, and to replace them with LED, we'd save a lot of money, and we're going to get a quote and evaluate that and see if that's a good thing or not a good thing. But it's something that's brought to our attention, and we talked about that. As the other new thing we're replacing all the exit lines, signs with LEDs because they're on a lot. They're small, but they're on a lot, so that's another project that we expect to get done. And as you see, our budget is $13,000 to $23,000. It depends on exactly what we do, but that's our goal, and that's our thought, that it would fall in that range. So I don't know if there's any questions or anything, but I'll be glad to try to answer that if you have any, or afterwards I'll be here.
Thank
Good.
you, Bill.
Yep, thank you.
I considered leaping this cord, and I thought that wouldn't come out well, so I walked around here. There's a cord here. I don't know if you'll. All right. Bill mentioned the security room and the safety team, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about where we stood with that. If you've been with us for a while, you know that we've been talking for a little while about the idea of having a safety team. And you say, well, what is the purpose there? And you see that on the slide. The purpose is that we want to be as prepared as possible to address any situation that may come up that could threaten someone's safety while they're here at the building. The idea was, and I think James even said it to me tonight, was the more prepared we are, the less likely it is that anything will happen. But if we're not prepared, then someone who means ill will come along and do some sort of harm. And so as part of the effort to get kind of put everything into place, we came up with a safety team command center. That's my word, but which is the little room that was built right here. If you ever gone in here to make copies, you'll know that the room's not as big as it used to be. We cut that in half, and then inside there they've got all the equipment that's needed to monitor a number of cameras. And there've been several cameras, eight in fact, have been put up, installed around the building over the last several weeks. And that's operating now. And we were going to offer, if anybody was curious, after the meeting is done tonight, if you want to walk back, either James or Nate will be back there, and they can show you what it looks like. You know, you can see one of your friends here on camera, if that's exciting to you. We have probably 3 to 5 more cameras to do, depending on locations and so forth, but we're getting close to that being done. And then what the idea is that on any event where we're here, Sunday morning, or maybe the food giveaway, a vacation Bible school, any time we've got a lot of folks on the property, is we're going to have our safety team in place. And there would be someone who would be monitoring the cameras themselves to see if there's anything going on that other team members need to be aware of. You know, if someone's out in the parking lot checking doors, checking for unlocked doors or whatever, that's something that they would see. Or, if someone walks in that just looks like they're up to no good, they would be able to see that and react to it quickly. And so that's what we're looking to do. Some of the next steps there is they're going to complete the installation of those cameras and get some other technology pieces in place. They're going to assemble the team, and I have Nate's name on there. Nate Hildreth, wave your hand, Nate. If you're interested in helping out with that, feel free to talk with him about that, because we want to have enough people involved so that it's not a burden to any 1 or 2 people. Like we wouldn't want someone to always be monitoring cameras while we're worshiping. We want to have them have a chance to worship as well. So that's why we want to have enough people involved. And as I said, it'll be during any event that we have here at the building as a way of just, again, helping us all be able to worship and participate in things without having to worry about that. So, all right, we'll go on from there. We'll talk about some financial things. This chart shows a comparison of our weekly contribution. Well, the weekly part's down at the bottom, but it's our general contribution. So what we give every week to the general operating budget for the church. We divide it into in-person giving versus online giving. And The online giving is if you use the Easy Tithe app. And as you can see, it's kind of a 2-to-1 ratio there, but it has grown a little bit on the online side. Some people use that every week now. I've gone to using that. It's pretty helpful to us. It's easy for me to keep track of what I'm doing that way. But we certainly love to have in-person giving as well. So the totals for that weekly have gone up a little bit. In 2022, the last 12 months, we've given as a church $336,000. That equals about a little bit over $6,400 a week that we give. The thing that is encouraging to me is 2022 economically was a much more difficult year for a lot of people than 21. In 21, people were still getting pandemic checks and that kind of thing, and it just seemed like this year was a tough year. Prices went up on everything, right? And it's just encouraging to see that this church continues to grow in its giving. It's not surprising to me, but it's incredibly encouraging that you do so. Now, we had proposed a budget at the beginning of the year of about $6,700, so we were a little bit under that, but we know again that it was a tough year for a lot of folks, and we're just encouraged by the giving that we have. And so then you see that number reflected here again, financial blessings in 2022, $336,000. And every year we have special giving that happens. And this is something outside of the general budget that's usually given for a specific purpose. A big example, a lot of you give camp scholarships. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. You give money and you say, I would like this to go for one of our kids to go to camp who couldn't afford to go otherwise. And that's been a great blessing to many children that have been connected with this church. Memorial giving, if someone passes away, sometimes folks will give money to the church in their name, and that's another special giving. But that does make up some of the income that we receive every year. And then we have a little bit of interest earned because we have some money in a certificate of deposit. So that's what the 404 is. You see our total from all sources, $345,000. And then on this page, you see that same number, but our expenses are a little bit higher, about $20,000 higher, as you can see there, $365 in total expenses. Some of that we knew coming into the year would happen because we had that project to do on the parking lot. And, it's funny, we don't think much about parking lots until you realize how expensive they are. So that section that they completely redid right out here, which you could walk out here and you can see the outline of it, that was probably about 2/3 of the project budget that we had for this year of the spending went to that. So we knew we were going to overspend a little bit, and we did. Fortunately, we've been blessed with some money on hand that was able to cover that, and we still have cash on hand close to $88,000. All right, a little bit more about camp scholarships. So the $6,651 were donated this past year to send kids to camp. And that's a great number. And part of that number, and I'm glad that Emily mentioned it to me, one of the new ministries we have this year is the Faithful Blend coffee ministry. Have you all gotten coffee on Sunday morning, from Faithful Blend? And sometimes some of you say, hey, I want to leave you a tip, as a sign that I appreciate this. Well, that tip money, Emily has said, I want that to go to send somebody to camp. And she was able to, just with tip money, I think you get enough to send a person. So, and which makes a big difference, someone who maybe couldn't go otherwise. So that's another source of scholarship money for camps. What we noticed, though, was that we didn't spend very much in camp scholarships this past year. You see, the number that we paid was only $3,600. And I know we had some families that said, well, I can afford, we're going to send our kids anyway. We'll pay it, But we really want this year to strive to spend all the scholarship money that we have available. And so we're going to open it back up and say if someone from this church or one of your grandkids or whatever wants to go to camp, we're going to cover it with this camp scholarship. We really want to get a lot of kids there this year. So at the end of the year, we can say, you know what, we spent all that money, give some more. Because otherwise it just sits around. When it's not, after camp's over, we don't do anything with that money. We hold it for the next year. So be thinking about that. That's why I asked the question, who do you know who would like to go to camp in 2023? We really want to make use of that. So be thinking about that now. If you've got questions about camp, how that works, you can talk to our good friend Matt. We have other camp board members here as well. But Matt's been operating that week, and I'm assuming, Lord willing, he will do it again this year. So talk to Matt about that. All right, so then this is what we propose for the coming year. So what we said is we had taken in about 300 and some thousand, and we want to increase that a little bit. We always want to kind of put that forward as a encouragement to the church to try to grow in our giving. We finish up the year. It's kind of a good time to evaluate personally. What can I do a little more when it comes to giving? And it's not because we're greedy and want money to do anything with. I don't get any of it, but it's because there's so many things as a church we want to do in our ministries that it just requires money to do it, unfortunately. So we're asking that we try to take in this year $353,000 in our weekly general contribution. That's about a 5% increase in what we gave this past year, but it's pretty close to what we had hoped. What we had budgeted for the year before. So the budget amount stays pretty close to the same, about 67, almost 6,800. So if there's an opportunity for you to increase in giving, we would love that. We appreciate that. We know the Lord will bless you if you do that. So we think that maybe our total income from all sources could be around $363,000. And so putting together the budget, we said, let's see if we can make that come out even. You have in front of you on the tables all the details behind all this, so you're welcome to kind of take a look at that. If you've got questions, we entertain any questions you have on the budget or on what a particular category is on that budget. But you can see there everything that goes into that. So this proposed spending is conservative, especially compared to where we were this year on the expense side. So we're thinking, how do we make that happen? Well, we're asking everybody who's involved in spending money with this church to kind of take a second look at, especially those recurring bills that keep coming up, to say, are we getting the best value for our money? Is this something that is valuable to us? Is there a way to get the same thing done for a little less? So we're kind of looking at that. We think we can make that happen and keep within the budget. If not, then I'm sure the Lord will bless us with what we need. And that's the important thing, is that even though we talk dollars and cents here and we try to plan ahead, we really don't know for certain what will happen. But we know that when funds are needed, the Lord makes them available. And we've seen that over and over again in this congregation. Okay, we're going to finish up tonight by talking about the auditorium refresh project. And I thought I'd better start with a what is it, because we've been quiet on this past year. It is a proposal to renovate and refresh the auditorium where we meet on Sunday morning. It includes the main auditorium, the stage area, the baptistry area, and we even looked at some work in the foyer as well. Just things involved with that. The whole idea was born out of the recognition that our carpet is becoming as old as Methuselah. That is, I think, an original carpet in that room. And so and if you walk through there, you'll see places where it's kind of begun to rip and tear and everything, and it's pretty threadbare. So if you replace the carpet, then you've got to take up all the pews to do that. So the question came up, well, what about seating and that kind of thing? So there began to be all sorts of things involved in the scope. And we had a team get together. It was led by Ron, and some other people in this room have been involved with that. I know the Montgomerys and others, and I'm missing names. I think Keith and Jeannie were involved as well. And they got together, and we had asked them just kind of, what do you think we might want to do a little bit of dreaming and see what we could come up with. And so, of course, we mentioned the carpet, talked about the seating. The last conversation on that, we were looking at replacing the pews with interchangeable or interlockable chairs. So that might be the direction we go. Money-wise, it's going to be the same whether we do the chairs or whether we refurbish the pews. So we were looking at that as an option. Again, some updates to the front, how the front looks. Maybe getting rid of the curtain and maybe opening it up and redo the back wall of the baptistry with something that would be pleasant to see. And the only drawback with the curtain is I don't know how our people will hide when they're coming down in there, but that's a minor problem when we have our baptisms. We talked about lighting upgrades in there. The lighting is a little bit iffy sometimes. And then probably along with that, kind of the projector display changes. This would be a good time to mention, you've probably noticed we're still without our projector in the auditorium, and appreciate your patience on that. We've tried a couple of times to order a replacement projector, and every time we order it, we get a call back from the vendor, and they say, this one's broken. So that's happened. That's happened actually a couple of times. So we're having more conversations about what's going to be the best solution long-term there. So again, appreciate your patience on that. We will eventually get back to something that's more regular as far as what we're projecting there. So anyway, all those things are kind of at play right now in what would be part of that project. And some of you who knew that this was a project when we talked about it in last year's meeting might be saying to yourselves, where has this project been? So in the first quarter, I think January, February timeframe, Ron and his team had pulled together estimates, cost estimates of what it would take. They had gotten a contractor involved in giving us some estimates on that. I kind of went back through what the numbers I saw in there, Ron, and that's where I came up with this 60 to 80. Hopefully that looks reasonable. Some of that depends on how much. I mean, we could do a lot, we could do a little bit less, and so it's a flexible number. But they had shared those, and but we had looked at the beginning of the year. That was when we saw a lot of things negatively happening in the economy, and some of our members having a hard time, and we thought it would be best to kind of hold off on this project for 2022. At the time, costs were skyrocketing. Not that that's gotten any less, but we just felt like it wasn't the right time to ask you to support something like this. So we held off. We have been holding of that $88,000 we have in the bank. $30,000 of that we have committed to this project. So it's kind of a jump start for that. But we need to ask, we're going to have to ask you as a congregation to help support it to make this project happen. So here's where we want to go with this. And I've been talking with several people over the last couple of weeks, and we feel like we've got a good direction to move forward and actually get something accomplished on this project, hopefully this year. So we're going to get past the holidays, and then hopefully in January we can get a meeting together that involves kind of the main people that have been involved in the design work on this. We're going to also, we've asked Todd Buckland, and he's agreed to act as a general contractor when we go to the construction part. And if you don't know Todd, that's an amazing asset to getting this done, and to getting it done for less money than going out to another contractor. So, so we'll have him involved in that. I've also asked Mike Halloran if he would help to guide us through a fundraising campaign, and he's got some experience with that at previous congregations, but also he was on the board with Willowbrook for a time, and so he's been aware of what it would take to do something like that. So we look to kind of finalize the scope pretty soon here in the next month or so, and then we'll begin a process of sharing all of that with the congregation so that you will be able to see exactly what it is we're proposing to do. You'll be able to give some feedback on that. And then we're talking about having a special giving, like maybe a given Sunday sometime in April perhaps, in which we would say everything that we give that day would go to this project. And it would be a goal of raising, you know, I don't know, maybe doubling what the elders already have on hand for it, or at least coming close enough that we can move forward substantially. And that's why I have construction summer of 2023. I'd love to see us get something started this year. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done to get to that, but it is something that we are committed to moving forward with, and we feel like it would be a blessing to this congregation to get that done. So I just noted again, the people I've already mentioned, these aren't the only people who have been involved in this. I don't mean to slight anybody, but I just wanted to note kind of 3 key players that if you have questions or want to get involved in some aspect of this project, Ron's a great person to talk to, Todd will be, and Mike as well. So, as well as any of the elders, of course. So, wow, we did that, and it's 5 till 8. Hey, everybody. All right, so just open it up for questions and comments, and here's Keith. He's already standing up. He objects to something about benevolence. No. That's what you get for sitting in the back. I know Keith wanted to just, I got to mention before he gets here. So we have a little fellowship thing we call fantasy football that we do here. And my friend Jeannie, she put the kibosh on me this week. So right before the Monday night game, I happen to have, if you know anything about fantasy football, you have players from different teams and they earn points for you. I had Kyler Murray, and going into the game, Jeannie's team was ahead of me by 1 point. So I only needed Kyler to throw 20 yards worth of passes to get that point, or something like that. And he goes down, after 3 plays, you know, and because she had said beforehand, before the game, she said to me, I don't think Kyler's going to play tonight. So, okay, great. So congratulations, she won the game. She's actually leading her division right now, so good job out of her. Keith, I said, come on up. Sorry.
Remembering back from a year ago when we had this very same meeting, I remembered after the meeting that I realized that there was something that we did not bring up, and it is a very valuable ministry that we have here. It's our clothing ministry. Maisie Stevens puts in an incredible amount of love and effort into sorting all the clothes and being there and working out there even when the weather's warm, and we maintain that building. We keep it, it's painted, repainted again right now, and we provide electricity to that building, and that ministry that we do to provide to this community for clothing being available at no cost is truly a wonderful ministry that we have. I realize it isn't something that we need to consider in our budget other than us maintaining the building. But it is truly a wonderful ministry that we have, and for those that have helped Maisie over the years, or if anybody else would like to be involved with that ministry, that is definitely an area that we could use some more volunteers in. That's an incredible ministry that we have, that we can provide clothing to this community, all the way from infants all the way up to adults. So I thought it'd be best if we not forget that ministry and remember that, if anybody was willing to help Maisie in that effort, I think it'd truly be appreciated. Thank you.
Keith, I appreciate you mentioning that. There's so many things that happen in this building and around this congregation that oftentimes just go quietly by. There are a lot of people that do things not because they want to be applauded, but simply because they believe that serving is something that they can do. So I appreciate all the folks that worked tonight in the kitchen and helped us with tonight's meal. Yeah. And you see a lot of those same folks often working here for funeral meals and other things like that. And it's just, again, it's an important, valuable thing. It's so meaningful to the families to know that they can come and have a meal here. And we've got some people dedicated to doing things like that. So it's a great congregation of people who really love to serve. And we do appreciate that. So questions or comments? Feel free to ask a question. Yes.
Do a lot of people know, like, where the defibrillator is, or, you know what I'm talking about? Maybe Kim can
I do, and I'm trying to think if I know where it is. I'm pretty sure it's in this closet over here. Yeah.
I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
If somebody's not always here, that needs to be made known.
Sure. Yeah.
Is there an AED sign over there? Or if there's not, then there honestly probably should be. What's that? Isn't there an AED sign on the door, or if not? I don't know. I didn't know where it was. I thought there used to be a sign there that says it's here.
Yeah, so we do have some supplies here if someone has a medical emergency. I mean, we're not doing surgery, of course, but we have the defibrillator, and we do have a first aid kit, and I believe it's kept current stock-wise. We probably should double-check that too, but we do have some things like that available, and we have some people we're blessed with people in the congregation who also have enough knowledge to be able to know exactly what to do in a situation like that. So, but I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, as far as I know, it's in that closet over there. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a plan in 2023 to go back to how communion originally was?
Great question. We get that question a lot. I don't know if you all heard it, but it has to do with how we serve communion. Okay, and we before the pandemic, we filled trays, open trays of the juice and the bread and so forth, and passed them around like you see a lot of churches do. And then we went to the little cups that we're now using. Not exact. We got some new ones. Matt was excited about, but hopefully we got good reviews on those this past Sunday. But to your question as to whether we would go back to doing it the other way. And believe it or not, we've talked back and forth on this. One side of us says, well, it still feels like, from a health standpoint, that could be risky. We wouldn't want people to stop taking communion because they feel a health concern. On the other hand, there's value in having people stand up and pass trays around as another opportunity to serve, maybe for some folks who don't get opportunities any other way. So that's important too. So I say all that to say we've made no decision, but we are aware of that. If anybody's got feedback on that point, we'd love to hear it. But again, we want to make sure that everybody feels safe about, because communion is such an important thing. We don't want anybody to not take it because they feel like there's a health risk. Other questions? Cindy?
Question. It's about the playground.
Uh-huh.
And I was just wondering, some of the repairs that need taken care of down there, has anything been decided with that?
Yeah, great question. We do need to address that, and it's been missed. I know you brought it to my attention, and so I take that as a fault of mine that I didn't follow through on that. We have a little bit, at least one of the structures down there is a little Jabberwocky, so we need to either shore it up or take it down to make sure that it doesn't cause harm to any of the young children. So we will tackle that here very shortly. So thank you for bringing it up, Cindy.
Just a thought. I wonder if it'd be possible for us to switch back to just giving by passing the baskets around before we ever get switched to eating something. Because I know, like, children, I learned as a child, like, to give some money, your
Yeah.
money, and like, there's a lot, like, and I kind of feel like now we give online. I sort of feel like, and Ella's so little, they're just gonna think that we don't even give anything.
Yeah,
They don't see us walk back there and put it in the basket.
yeah,
It's easier. I like the online thing or whatever, but
right,
the basket thing was just still an option. I'd just put a little more. I'd probably still do it online. But
right.
just like, there's something about, like, spending cash with Dave Ramsey. There's something that you feel it when you participate in it. So
Yeah.
in 2023, we can start passing the basket around.
That's not a bad idea. That's a little bit, like you said, a little bit safer approach. Yeah, you're not putting it in your mouth, hopefully. You can be careful how you touch the plate. So, I mean, it is filthy lucre, as the King James says. The money is, but yeah, I think we'll probably consider doing that because I agree with you. Because I've seen kids do that, and I know our own children when they were younger loved the idea of being able to participate in that. So, yeah, thank you. Anything else? Yes, plus.
Along the same lines, I see the tray back there with money in it. Somebody could grab that. Maybe if you pass it around, you could put it in the room like we used to.
Yeah, we used to, once the collection was done, we would put it in the bag or whatever and lock it up and secure it. I have thought about that. I know Kendall has paid very close attention to that when he's here. In fact, he usually hangs out back there, I think for that reason, to make sure the money doesn't go walking away.
Could we, definitely after the first service, empty those trays?
Yeah.
I think probably be wise to empty those trays and not just leave it out there so open like that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people moving in and out between services, so yeah, some wisdom in that. Yeah, so we'll talk and probably move to maybe going back to passing the trays.
And on top of that, maybe we need to make a tray just for children to give money to. Because children need to give as well.
Yeah.
And they need to learn that practice. And I don't know how we can figure that out, but we need to make a tray that's lower for them, and they can come and give money to.
Yeah, so good.
Maybe you can put it up at the very front, so they can walk up there.
I've been to other congregations where they've done something like that, where the kids go up maybe on their way to a junior worship or something, and they drop some money. They bring their giving. Yeah, they bring their giving.
Kids go up and then they get to their classes.
Yeah. Great ideas, yeah. Ron?
Just back to when we do the communion, and everybody seems to have those little cups in your pew, and you don't know what to do with them. In the interim, almost if you would do the reverse engineering, could we pass a trash receptacle or a bag, something, or maybe just assigning people to pick up the trash, because everybody looks around and says, what am I gonna do with this?
Right.
So when we went to church in Myrtle Beach, they were doing the cups, and they had the solo cups where the hymnals and the Bible are, and they would just put their communion,
Just put them in there, yeah.
and then of course they go after service.
I just love that these are the key things we're talking about, but they're important things because they're part of what what we know as worship, right? And sometimes it's the little details that mean a lot. So I do appreciate the feedback because, you know, it's something to be aware of. It was something valuable I was going to say, but I don't know what it was. I know I say a lot of things that aren't so valuable. But, I was going to say that after we're done, we're about done here with the meeting, if you're interested in seeing what it looks like the output from the cameras, Nate or James will be around and they can show you that back in the room. I mean, don't 20 of you go at once, but 2 or 3 at a time can go back and kind of see, the efforts that they put into it. It's kind of cool to look and say, oh, look, there's the fellowship hall and there's people there. So, feel free to do that after we're done here. Obviously, help out with any cleanup in regard to the food and so forth. There's plenty of produce that you can take home with you, and they're encouraging you to do that because they already have this and they're going to have more delivered for this Saturday. So there's kind of an abundance of produce. So if you can be blessed or can bless someone else with it, take some home with you tonight. We encourage you to do that. I know there was another thing that was in my mind that I thought was important to say, but I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I know what it was. Oh, so if so we try to publish in the bulletin when we have our meeting. We have a meeting typically every other Wednesday. Next one will be January 4th with the elders and with Russell and Matt. Others have come to that meeting. It is in the morning, so if you work for a living, you may not be able to attend, but you're always welcome to come attend that, especially if you have something you want to bring up or make sure it gets addressed, or even if you just wanted to come and hear what we're talking about. We don't keep secrets there. It's pretty open, so encourage you to, and we often just meet right here in this room or in room 11 or something like that. So encourage you to do that. Cindy, did you have another?
Yeah, I just wondered maybe a little more in depth of the security. I realize they have video around, but, is there more?
Well, Nate, do you want to share any more about what you have in mind?
It's been a process. We get the cameras in place before we service the people, to be honest with you. There's a plan in place, there's policy in place, we're trying to get that,
Yeah, so I know I can share a little bit more about what was envisioned as far as like on a typical Sunday morning. We'll have a couple of members of the security team that basically will just kind of be out and about and greeting people as they come in. Now they're not frisking them, they're not doing anything like that. All they're doing is just saying hi, just like you would at any church, right? Just getting to know them. But the idea behind that is if there is someone that comes in that's kind of new to them, and for some reason that person, looks like something's not right, they just want to be aware and maybe pay a little bit of attention, When you think about some of the events we've heard about or on the news that have happened at church buildings, it's often someone coming in that is not part of the congregation, and they come in there and they, just kind of keep to themselves, and then they do something that they shouldn't.
Are we ever in lockdown on the church? When we're having service, are the doors locked at all, or?
Right now, they're not. What the cameras give us is an instant visual of anything happening at the doors. So again, someone comes in that we don't know, don't expect. It's not like we're going to attack them. It's just we're just going to be aware, so that we can try to prevent anything from happening. And they'll have the ability to communicate with each other somewhat instantly, so that they'll be able to, if someone sees something on a camera, they'll say, "Hey, at the fellowship hall door, check this out." Yeah.
On that night, is the same, is there other people at the first service? Because I know there's always seem to be numerous people at the second service that come. Is there somebody
Yeah, they'll be covering both services, yes. As well as things like the food giveaway and other events. Wednesday night, it's a little bit more low-key, but we'll still be kind of aware of what's going on.
Just want to make comment too, these are high quality cameras and screens that we have in here. It's not like some of you, if you're watching a movie on TV and it's like a camera at a gas station, think you're blurry. No.
Yeah.
Cameras that we have are very high quality but they operate off picking up motion, don't they, I believe?
Yeah, they'll pick up motion, tell us when the motion hits, the stores events makes them a motion. We can also tell the recording agents if we want to, but the biggest way to search is through the motion activation.
Right.
Why look at it if there's nothing there?
Okay. Well, we probably should wrap up. I know that we're a little bit over, and if folks have kids that are back there, you want to make sure you relieve them. Say something nice to the teachers who gave up being in here to take care of their responsibilities there. So let's go ahead and close with a prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the blessings of this congregation. And we thank you, Father, the reason that we're together. We thank you because it's your Son, Jesus Christ, who was willing to die for us and willing to give us a relationship with you and a relationship with each other. And so we thank you, Father, for that blessing. We thank you, Father, for putting us together as a body here in Marion, Ohio. And we know that you've put us here to do good, to spread the good news of your gospel, to share your love with this community and with each other. Help us, Father, to do that more and more. Help us, Father, to see clearly what you would have us do. And Father, thank you for each person who is part of this congregation. We pray in Christ's name. Amen.